That was all we discussed. I want to open up the floor for public comment.
Public comment, yeah.
I'm opening up the floor for public comment.
I had to go to, hello everyone, hello.
Hi.
How you doing,
What's up, Coach?
How you doing?
It's back to school night this week, so I have to get the back to school night, but I just want to let you know on September 30th that Senator Anthony Williams will be at Yeadon Borough Hall at 7 o'clock for a Q&A. So if anybody has any questions or anything they would like to present to Anthony Williams, the Senator Anthony Williams, you can do so. I'm just communicating back from our council meeting, that's all, our board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Go ahead, Ms. Meuser.
Am I allowed to ask a question now?
Whatever you want.
Am I allowed to ask a
It's
question?
public comment.
Public comment.
Well, my question is, tonight is the most important thing of all the old council members, not the new ones. It has to be dealt with, the most important issue on all finance in the borough, with the large lawsuits from the Darby Creek Joint Authority, NDI, engineer, and with Crystal Pale, and with this, I feel that the old council members need to give us an expiration on these lawsuits, because there's actually two more bigger than that, and they're in the millions. I think everybody at council meetings needs to be aware how much money is still owed out there for 2011, 12, 13. So that's what I'm trying to ask each individual council member. What are they aware of, and how much, and how many lawsuits are there still standing? Okay?
I need to make one correction. There is no lawsuit for Crystal Powell.
Pardon me?
There is no lawsuit for Crystal Powell.
I think she got paid.
No, what I'm saying is she got paid more money than she should have never ever got paid. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. There's no lawsuit with Crystal Powell.
We had a lot of.
Thank you, Mrs. Meuser.
But for the others, they are lawsuits, and I think the people need to know how much money really is still owed out there.
I can't answer that, hon.
Huh?
I think Martha and Jeanette have to answer that. I can't.
I don't have the paperwork anymore, so I can't. I have no paperwork, I can't just like we
You
were.
girls were in charge.
And we was not in charge, And you got my girl, I'm
Kept us in the
Can
dark.
we bring this back around, please? Thank you.
Let's get on to the next
Let's go.
thing.
Keep going.
So nobody's going to try to answer any
They
questions.
don't want to
Not
answer.
right now, they can't answer that, Bruce.
Okay.
With the litigation going on, they can't talk about money. or
No,
anything
they're not
like
going to
that.
get into that about litigation. I'm asking that
Somebody's
the
property.
people of this borough need to know how much money is still so outstanding. It's unbelievable. This borough's never going to be able to get out of that.
What outstanding, what are you talking about, Ms. Meuser? I'm not understanding. Are you talking about litigation, settlements, or money that's owed out?
What I'm talking about, okay, how many more lawsuits are there? Because we're talking millions of dollars just in these 5 lawsuits. You're talking big bucks.
I don't know what lawsuits you're referring
Okay,
to,
your
sir.
NDI is
No, it's
100,000.
56,000.
It is not 100,000. When you get your
56.
figures right,
Yeah,
Mrs.
and it
Meuser.
says,
Plus
and that's
lawsuit, plus legal
56,000, it
fees.
says we also have to pay all attorney fees and blah, 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 this.
Yeah, well.
Because
you have
council
NDA
chose not to settle, so therefore we will be responsible for all of her attorney fees.
Yeah,
I mean, that's misconception. When they tell you
All the tax dollars go
$56,000, and I will tell you people it's more than $56,000, because law, we're
They
talking
don't
law
know
fees
nothing
and
free.
so forth. It's the same with the Darby Creek Joint Authority. It's over $250,000 we owe them.
We made a third quarter payment, right, Ms. Brown? We just made a third quarter payment, man. We're like 3 times in a row is like a record. So
Yeah,
they're
what I'm
loving
trying
us.
to say is,
And Ms. McLean's also taking care of that he's been talking to people from the joint authority,
I,
and along with the early intervention program, because I've been talking to the auditor, we're gonna try to get that thing squared away, Ruth. We're trying, and everybody knows how much money was owed, because without me even looking at the paper, I guessed $300,000, and I was right. I didn't even look at any papers, because I kind of, just from listening, I heard what was going on. There's a lot of money owed, but this body here right now is really going to try to work on cut and spending, and they came in here, okay, and cut, like I say, $300-some thousand off the first night. Now, there's a little bit of bumpy roads here and there. Some things have come up that we didn't know about.
I said that. I said I only wanted the 4 people that were here
No, but everybody's
prior
here
to you
now.
coming.
I understand that, Ruth,
What
but
needs to be answering these questions.
everybody's here
It's
now, and
not
I'm trying to reach across with Tonette and Martha and all that to try to get help, and they're both going to try to get things done, and that's what we're going to try to do tonight. Is we're going to try to have a meeting and try to get things done tonight, okay? And to cut spending, and like I say, Mr. McLean has been taking care of the Darby Crib Joint Authority. I'm going to see the guy. I'm going to a party on the 26th, and I'm going to talk to the guy. Not even talk to the lawyers. I know who to talk to. And from what I hear, they're more than willing to work with us. And the deal that they offered us, we had the same deal before and we didn't uphold it. But with the way we're going with the money now, I think we're going to be able to hold that deal together. And they're giving us what I call a sweetheart deal. Okay? But it was past due, it wasn't paid, and we can't change that.
I know you can't.
Okay? And to go around and say,
All right, Mr. Lesher, we have to
Okay,
move
no
forward
problem.
because we'll be here till 10 o'clock.
yeah, right, I gotta go home and
But
watch.
I'm saying this too, I don't want deals made behind everybody's back, and I don't think it's right. I think people need to know what's going on here. Because NDI, as far as I'm concerned, I was going to testify in behalf of against them. Because as far as I'm concerned, that lady was hired without counsel, even knowing anything about it. She was hired to do engineer work, never to do borough work itself in the administration office.
All right,
That
thank
should be
you,
a
Mrs.
violation.
Meuser.
I came out and asked that lady face to face several times on council, and she lied and said that other people on this council lie and say that's not true. It was true.
Mrs. Meuser, thank
All right,
you.
honey,
We need to move on. We need to move on.
All right, hon.
For NDI,
You made your statement.
and we paid her hundreds of thousands of
I
dollars.
know.
We're crazy.
All right, Miss Meuser, we're never going to move forward. We stay in the
You
past.
might not want to tell the truth.
Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to go off the agenda right now.
Madam President, can I call the roll first?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, we
sorry.
forgot to do
Yeah,
roll.
well,
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes, here.
Mrs. Prey,
Yes.
Madam President,
I'm here.
Mayor Blue,
Here.
Councilman Brundage,
Present.
Mr. Meuser,
I'm present.
Mr. Lesher,
I'm here.
Borough Engineer Alex Rodriguez,
Here.
and Solicitor John McLean.
Okay, I'd just like to go off the agenda. Okay, and I would like to have a motion on the floor at this point in time. If anyone, any council member wants to present a new president, we might as well do it now and get it over with. So is there a motion on the floor to put a new president in place? Thank you, now we can move forward.
I know if I was president of council, she'd have to do the bold things for me.
You don't have to, you can just do, I mean,
The old
we've
man
already
is sick.
discussed it, it's written. You can just
Okay,
read the motion.
I'd like to get a motion to approve the early intervention program to get started.
I'll make that motion to approve Resolution 2014-16.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
All
Aye.
right.
Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Prey,
No.
Madam President,
Yes.
Mr. Brundage?
Yes.
Mr. Meuser?
Yes.
Mr. Lesher?
Yes.
All right. Motion passes.
Okay. The RCN cable franchise has expired. The renewal is for 10 years from the date of acceptance. Excuse me, I don't have on my glasses. With an additional 5-year extension. Proposed ordinance is attached. Did everybody get a chance to look at the ordinance?
Actually, I did not attach it because John is, number one, I told you in the office, John's working on that to see, no, all we need the motion for is to advertise.
Madam
Yeah,
President, I have a question.
John tweaks it.
I don't know that it's actually been 5 years, because after we signed the last contract, they made an option to go 10 more years. The original contract was in the office, that's why I'm not understanding why it's up right
I received
now.
notification from RCN that it's expired.
I'm talking to the president, Ms. Brown, I'm not talking to you.
We only answer on these things. John, have you seen them?
I have, and this recently came up. All I can tell, I don't know. I don't have the original or the last RCN contract as of yet. We received communication from RCN indicating that the previous franchise agreement had expired in 2013. So therefore, they were proposing a new agreement. Ms. Brown forwarded that to me. I think that what I would like to do is make some improvements, and also I typically recommend, the cable companies want to go out as long as they can. In this case, 15 years or 10-year with their renewal for 5 year. Just because you don't know what 10 years down the road from now technologically will be in existence, or what RCN may be providing. My recommendation is typically just to say 10 years. The other part is that the most important part of this franchise agreement is the definition of gross revenue. Municipalities are entitled to charge up to a 5% franchise fee of gross revenue, and then in the agreement itself, there's typically a definition of what gross revenue is. And when franchise agreements first started, you had basic cable and then you had Prism.
Yeah.
It has expanded. You may not charge any part of a franchise fee for telephone services or for internet services. The Federal Communications Commission has regulated that. However, you can get 5% of almost everything else that a cable company charges to your residents, including 5% of the charge for an HBO, but also 5% for rental of the box, advertising revenue that they get specifically locally, you may get that. So there is what they have proposed to you is sort of the basic definition of gross revenue, and there is a more comprehensive definition of gross revenue out there. We just want to make sure that we capture all of the different sources of possible revenue from RCN, so that is included in your cable franchise agreement. So I think what is being asked for is authorization to negotiate the agreement with RCN, and when we have a draft agreement, advertise a proposed ordinance, certainly for your review. But if we're able to accomplish that this month, then we can advertise it for next month's meeting for adoption. Certainly subject to your review and approval of the proposed franchise agreement.
John, we also have in that agreement, and whether they use it or not, you still should keep it in there. And that's the public access channel.
Mm-hmm.
We have that in both of our agreements. That's how we have Comcast and RCN. They're obligated to give it to us for free.
Yes, they'll give
That's
the
a
public
new
access channel.
It's already in there, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Don't let it be taken out.
Right, so we
It's
want to
already-
keep that.
Yeah.
Also, typically, you try to negotiate a grant for your public access channel. They can't give you extra money, but they can grant you money for equipment.
Right, which they did.
And they can, do it again. So we want to make sure there, and I think you use RCN for your internet service.
That's free
correct.
too.
Yeah, so we just want to ensure that, that stays in there, you have a, free internet access for the municipality.
Madam President, Mr. Solicitor, just one comment on that particular issue. I have RCM myself for home usage, and it's gone up 3 times in 3 years, right? I mean, I don't know if it has anything to do with our borough, but every year there's an increase, and I'm getting a lot of complaints. I mean, me and Jesse have been walking around, and we're getting a lot of complaints from people about the cost of RCN. And you know what? Also, me and Mr. Brundage notice a lot is everybody's got DirecTV now. All the houses we see, it's like on the other night we were out on the bottom of the 3rd Street. We were coming down the alley. There was 7 houses right in a row, all with DirecTV dishes.
Well, let me answer that.
So I just want you to comment on that, Mr.
You do not have the ability to regulate their prices.
Right.
So if they increase their fees to their customers,
Yeah.
there's really not anything that you can do about that. Like I said, if they increase their fees, you want to make sure you capture your 5%.
Do we get a cut of that though, if they're raising their fees every year?
Sure. You get 5% of those fees that are charged. Remember that the reason that you're giving this is because they're using public rights of way. Their wires are in your public right of way. That's why it is that you are able to grant what they call as franchise.
Yeah.
For things like DirecTV that do not use wires in the public right of way, there is no reason for them to get a franchise from you. So that's why if everything moves to satellite, then there won't be any more franchise agreements in the future.
I understand, Mr. Solicitor. Thank you.
RCN is our smaller contract. They used to be large here, but they're not really large here. So RCN is the smaller of the 2
Because I forgot to
contracts.
get the budget copy. and I'm not gonna have
Excuse me for a second.
it. So you can go through everything else, but
I'm looking over this resolution 2014-17, and it's talking about all right, this is the other one, I'm sorry, forgive me, I'm sorry. Looking at the wrong one, that's for the pension.
Any more
plan.
questions?
Sorry, I didn't see the other one.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept to advertise an ordinance notice for the RCN cable franchise renewal for adoption at the Colwyn Borough Council regular meeting?
Oh, that's what I was
We
looking
don't have it yet.
Yeah,
I'll take that motion.
Can I get a second?
Seconded,
All in favor?
yeah.
yes.
Thumbs up.
Motion passed 7-0.
Touchdown.
What's that?
Okay, let's move on. We're doing great tonight. We're
Let me see.